Then our second reader is the winner of our fiction contest this year, Melissa DaCosta Brown, who's a graduate of Duke University and has a master's in journalism from Northwestern University. She worked for MSNBC and ABC News affiliates. Her short stories have been published in Waccamaw, Subnivian, and Ponder Review, and her work has been shortlisted for the Bridport Prize and Lesko Prize. So please welcome to the screen, Melissa.
Even though we were only a week into camp, it was clear that this summer, for some unknown reason, I was now out of favor with Rachel. It started the very first day, when instead of choosing the bunks next to me, Rachel had inexplicably picked the bed farthest away. We had always been best friends at camp, but now Rachel spent her days whispering in the Jen's ears, laughing all the while looking straight at me. Maybe it was because I had sprouted up 6 inches over the winter, returning to camp an awkward 5 foot 9 inches tall. I was also now fully developed, my curves amplified by a little layer of baby fat, which unfortunately had not melted away in the fires of puberty. The biggest problem was my new breasts. Whoops, this just disappeared, sorry. I had 32 Ds, a mixed blessing that would one day get me out of speeding tickets and into frat parties, but at this point, they were a liability. The first night of camp that summer, as we undressed for bed, Rachel had looked at my breasts with a combination of curiosity and disgust. "They are huge," she said, looking away, shuddering. After that, I had started slipping into the bathroom stall to change clothes, just me and the hairy wolf spider that lurked in the corner. Even though we agreed to play the husband's game, everyone wanted clarification. "Who is who?" Izzy asked. "Like, who is the husband and who is the wife?" Rachel cleared her throat. "It will obviously look better if the more petite people are wives, but whatever you guys think." This was Rachel's version of being democratic. Obviously, we all agreed the tiniest, prettiest girls should be the wives, except for Rachel herself. Rachel gave herself the role of husband, and except for me, she decreed that that night and every night after, I play a wife. I obviously did not fit with the other wives. My first husband, Kendra, and I were like Jack Sprat and his wife. I was a few inches taller, and she was a flat-chested ballet dancer built like a sapling. I probably outweighed her by 25 pounds. But once Rachel assigned you a spouse, you were an official married couple for the entire night and the whole next day. Rachel allowed some group input into the development of the game. One of the husbands, Bryn, a muscular field hockey player with a donkey bray of a laugh, suggested you should have to call your spouse sweetie and honey, and we all agreed. Mainly the husbands bossed us around. The wives had to clean up for the husbands, make their beds, do their chores on the bunk chore chart. "Honey, please get me a chocolate milk from the mess hall," Izzy would say to her wife, Jen Z. "Darling, fold my clothes neatly," Rachel commanded as Jen S. lovingly put her laundry away. In the beginning, we all thought the game was kind of stupid, and the wives were obviously pissed off at the extra work. But the thing was, and this was not a Rachel rule, by unspoken agreement, we never played husbands when anyone outside the bunk was around. It became a de facto secret even before it needed to be, before things progressed. We always knew there was something wrong with it, something strange. By the summer of husbands, we all finally had our periods. Even Izzy, whose performative thinness and budding eating disorder had staved it off, had finally gotten hers, screaming with terror and joy when the first red drops materialized in her underwear. So by the third week of the husband's game, Rachel deemed that the wives needed to live up to certain standards of personal hygiene. Rachel decided that sanitary pads were gross. She made an ultimatum: no more pads, no exceptions. I was the last holdout, petrified of putting in a tampon. I had tried before, of course, and it hurt like something tearing deep inside me. There simply was no room. I did not even let my mind explore the specifics of how an adult penis would fit there. Rachel became obsessed with my inability to use tampons. She would not let it go. It came to a head one night that third week. She installed herself like a jailer, sitting on the dirty floor outside the bathroom stall, waiting until I successfully inserted a tampon. "It's not that big a deal. Just put it in like a plunger," Rachel called from outside the stall. I looked to the wolf spider for help, wondering if a toxic bite would get me out of this. I came out of the stall sweaty and shaking. I can't. It will not fit. It's so weird it fits me and Izzy, and we're so much smaller than you, Rachel mused. Right, said one of the gens. You're like enormous compared to us. I would think your vag was bigger too. It's disgusting and unsanitary. It's not fair to the rest of us, said Rachel. The gens nodded, their ponytails bobbing in agreement. Wait, Rachel said, grabbing a fresh tampon from the communal box next to the sink. Just lie on the bed and I'll put it in for you. Yes, I went and laid on that bed. You might think there was a choice, but there wasn't. I remember the feel of the scratchy army green blanket against my bare butt cheeks. The metal clot creaks under our combined weight. The girls smiled as they watched, partially in shock and partially in admiration as Rachel got to work. That was Rachel. She always took things a step further than anyone else could imagine, than anyone else would. Take off your undies and bend your knees, Rachel said. She sat between my legs as clinical and stone-faced as any gynecologist I would subsequently visit. She did not look angry about it or like she was enjoying it, but I knew Rachel well enough to know that this was her happy place, enforcing her will. Rachel pushed my knees apart, took the tampon, and poked around with the tip until she found my opening and pushed in and up hard. It felt like an invasion, a scraping. The tampon was a dull spike and I was impaled. It felt like something that would stay inside me forever, even when it was out. Is it in? She asked. It's in, I said, willing myself not to cry, and the bunk whooped and cheered. You'll thank me later, Rachel said. Week 4 of the husband's game was unseasonably hot for northern Maine. We obviously had no AC in the ancient creaky cabins, as the nights rarely got above 70 degrees. In fact, we often snuggled deep under our covers, reluctant to meet the chilly gray Maine mornings. But that week, a heat wave blanketed the entire East Coast. There were rumors New York City had been incapacitated by a partial electrical blackout. The camp director, Uncle Mike, whose very name should have telegraphed pedophile, but who was actually just a clueless old guy from rural Maine, was triumphant in his schadenfreude, telling us we should be happy to be where it was nice and cool and not dying of heat exhaustion like everyone down in New York. However, despite the pep talk, camp was still sweltering. The temperatures were in the high 80s during the day and only dropping into the mid 80s at night. As senior campers, we chose our own activities, and because of the heat, all the porks sensibly decided to spend the day at the waterfront. Water skiing was Rachel's favorite activity, and it was also mine, because despite being horrible at every sport known to man, I was freakishly, inexplicably great at water skiing. Better than Rachel, a lot better. While most of the counselors at Camp Pinecrest were women, for some reason, both water skiing instructors were male. They were both sophomores at Syracuse University. Uncle Mike's son, Dex, drove the boat, and his best friend, Jason, was head water skiing counselor. They spent the days with white zinc oxide coating their peeling noses and basking in the universal adoration of the camp population. Were they even handsome, or were they just tanned and available for our yearning eyes to worship? Who knows? But because of my skiing ability, I was a favorite of Jason's. That day, Rachel and I stood on the frying pan hot metal dock, feet burning as we waited in the long line to get on the ski boat. Jason saw me, peered out from under his Ray-Bans, and gestured for me to get in the boat. As I proudly jumped the line, Rachel grabbed my hand and leapt in the boat behind me. Not you, Jason said to Rachel. He pointed at me. Just Emma. I was simultaneously elated and horrified. We're together. Rachel pushed forward unfazed. Emma can help the little kids get up from the water. It's crazy busy today, said Jason. I'll help too, said Rachel, sitting down in the front of the boat, even as Dex gestured for her to get out. Fine, one ski, Jason said, then out. Rachel pouted and put one hand on her hip in a mock sexy pose and shrugged one shoulder. Fine. I was conscious, as always, of my jiggling breasts bursting out of my swimsuit top. My mom had bought me the least sexy, most minimizing Speedo racing suit possible, but somehow the tight fit forced my breasts up and over the neckline, coming dangerously close to exposing a nipple, like a courtesan at Versailles. As we rolled across the white caps, Jason sat next to Dex, and I felt both of their eyes on me. It was like Rachel was invisible. Dex whispered something in Jason's ear. Jason half laughed and said, "Dude, no, don't go there." When it was time to ski, Jason tossed our life vest to us. Dex put the boat in idle and walked over to me. I skied every day. It was clearly unnecessary for Dex to check that my life jacket was on correctly, but every day he checked, his hands pulling the straps tight over my chest, his eyes lingering. "Check me," Rachel said. Dex walked over and did a cursory pull down on Rachel's vest. "All good," he said, not even looking, his gaze never leaving me. Rachel squinted at me in the sun, and her eyes looked less green than normal, more yellow gold, like something reptilian. I had the distinct feeling of having won this moment, but somehow also having lost. Okay, now I can hear you guys.
Thanks so much, Melissa. Really
Sorry?
glad that you were able to make it and to hear some of that unnerving story out loud.